Hello, in this video we're going to take a look at finding the equation of a line with different properties. So there's a couple of different forms of the equation of a line. We have the point slope form, and that's the form of the line that we know a point and a slope. It's going to be y minus y1. y1 is going to be the y value of our point. Our slope is m. And then x minus x1, where x1 is the x value of our point. And then another form of the line that we see a lot is called slope intercept. And that's if we know the y-intercept and the slope, it's going to be y equals mx plus b. Y and x are our variables, and then we plug in our slope of m and our y-intercept of b. And that's typically the form that you're going to want your final answer in, is that slope-intercept form. And the point slope is going to be the form of the line that we're going to start and then solve that for y to get the slope-intercept. All right, so our first example, we are looking for the equation of the line that goes through the point 7, 2 with a slope m equals 6. And so we are going to plug into that point slope form. So we're going to have y minus our y1, that's our y value on our point, so 2 equals m, our m is equal to 6, times x minus x1, our x value of our point, which is 7. So we get y minus 2 equals 6 times x minus 7. Now keep in mind, this is very similar to the slope. Finding the slope, the equation is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And all we're doing is multiplying both sides by that denominator. So you're not really having to memorize a new form of a line. It's just we're plugging in for one point instead of two. All right, to solve this for y, this would be point slope. So if that's all you're looking for is the point slope form, you could stop there. If you're looking for the slope intercept form, we'll go ahead and solve this for y. So I'm going to distribute that 6. We'll get 6x minus 42, and then add 2 to both sides, and we get y equals 6x minus 40, and that would be the equation of our line. Here we would have a y-intercept of negative 40 and a slope of 6. All right, if we're given 2 points to start out with, finding the same thing, now we're going through the point negative 3, negative 2, and the point negative 2, negative 3. So we've got 2 steps in this one. We need to find our slope, so I'm going to call this x1 and y1, and the second point x2, y2, and plug into that slope formula. So we've got the change in y's. Negative 3 is our y2. It doesn't matter which one you put first, as long as if we plug in this y value that we do first, then that means the corresponding x value goes first on the bottom. And then plugging in the other one, we get negative 2 over a negative 3. So negative 3 minus a negative is going to be plus 2. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. In the denominator, we have negative 2 minus a negative, so that's going to be negative 2 plus 3, which is a positive 1, and negative 1 over 1 gives us a slope of negative 1. And now we can use either point. I'm going to go ahead and use the first one just because it's listed first and no other reason. So y minus our y1 is negative 2. Our slope we found to be negative 1 times x minus, make sure that you use the corresponding x value that goes to the y value plugged in. So y minus a negative 2 is the same thing as y plus 2. And then x minus a negative 3 is the same thing as x plus 3. We'll distribute that negative 1, and we'll get negative x minus 3 and then subtract 2, and that's going to be negative x minus 5 is going to be the equation of that line. All right, our last example here, we are looking for the equation of the line that has an x-intercept of 3 and a y-intercept of negative 1. And this one's very similar to what we did on the last one. We just have to come up with the points. So we know that if it's an x-intercept, that means it is on the x-axis. If it's on the x-axis, the y value will be 0. So x-intercept of 3 is telling us that our graph is going through the point 3, 0. And if we have a y-intercept of negative 1, then we can go, that means if it's a y-intercept, that means it's on the y-axis, which means that our x value is 0. So our point that corresponds to a y-intercept of negative 1 is going to be 0, negative 1. And then this problem is exactly like the previous one. Our slope is going to be negative 1 minus 0 over 0 minus 3. Negative 1 minus 0 is negative 1. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. And that simplifies to 1/3. And this one we can do a little bit of a shortcut because we know our y-intercept. That means we know our b in that y equal mx plus b form. Or we can plug into the point slope form using either one of those points and solve for y to get y equals our slope is 1/3 and our b is negative 1. So we get y equals 1/3 x minus 1. All right, I'll see you guys next time.